Today's video is for anyone who is struggling with a sense of self outside of their performance. That's what this video is about. Identity confusion. Welcome back to the Tribe Clan. This is a space for leaders to learn about their most critical asset, their well-being. And I'm your host, Judith Gbadibo. I'm a psychologist and a well-being partner. I help leaders, elite performers identify their well-being gaps and fix them. If you'd like to work with me on a personal level, then there are details in the description below. Now let's get into this video. Today we're talking about identity confusion. Identity confusion comes when your sense of self is very closely tied to your achievements. It's very closely tied to external validation. It's very closely tied to whatever the world sees about you. That's what your sense of self is. And then there's a confusion that comes as a result. It makes it very difficult to know who you are outside of your accomplishments. It makes it very difficult to know who you are outside of your work. So for some people, their work becomes their identity. You ask them, who are you? And then they describe themselves with what they do. If currently maybe the state where your work is affects you so closely to the point where it's merged very deeply with your identity, then there is some level of identity confusion. And how can this be managed? How does this show up? Is why we're here today. If you notice that when you're not achieving, when you're not at the top state, of course, life happens, there are ups, there are downs, even in your career, there are times where you're not doing so great. If you notice that there's a sense of uncertainty, there's a sense of emptiness that comes to your life as a result, then there's an enmeshment with your identity and your work. Right? And that's the identity confusion here, essentially. Now, how does this typically show up, really? How does this show up? And how might this be showing up in your life personally? You might have identity confusion if you are someone who operates as a chameleon. Yeah, I said that, as a chameleon. So in different social contexts, with friends, with work colleagues, with acquaintances, whatsoever it is, you have a different face. Essentially, you're not the exact same person, right? It means that there's a chance that you don't have a strong sense of self. Identity confusion is very interesting because sometimes you think, oh, I'm just being adaptive. When I'm here, this is how I behave. When I'm there, this is how I behave. But the truth is that there's lack of authenticity there, and with lack of authenticity, there's also lack of connection and real relationships. So you can't have real relationships if no one feels connected to you. If they feel like with this person, you are one way. With that person, you are another way. With the boss, you are a certain way. With colleagues, you are another way. With, subordinates, you are a different way. No one feels safe enough to even open up to you. No one feels like, oh, this is my person, because they just see you as that chameleon. Right? And it's all because of your identity confusion. For you, it might be because you're a people pleaser. It might be because you just have learned to adapt that way. That might be your own defense mechanism, right? To socialize, to just not be an outcast in the social context. Whatsoever it is that have brought you to this point is fine, but you can do something about it. You don't have to stay here, right? Yes, you've learned that this is the most adaptive way to engage, to process, but it's not, okay? This is what you know so far. This is the tool you have so far, but we can upgrade. We can do better, okay? So if you know that you're a chameleon, you are someone who operates as a chameleon, chances are you have identity confusion. Another way to know if you have identity confusion is if you struggle with indecision, uncertainty. So when you need to make major decisions, you struggle a lot. You ask for opinions on opinions. You want to know what everybody thinks about it. You don't have a solid sense of what your direction is. You don't have a solid sense of what you want. You outsource your opinions. You outsource your decision making a lot. You don't have a clear sense of what it entails to be you as an individual. So you almost cannot separate you as the individual from what society's expectation of you is. You don't have that independent mind, right? There's a chance that you have identity confusion because you are not sure what you truly want, okay? You can make your decision based on what is voted yes, where everybody votes yes. And even though it's something that would directly impact you, and you'll be the only one facing the consequence of whatever decision is made, you are still making it based on outsourced decision. That is identity confusion in play, quite frankly. Another way it shows up if you have identity confusion is if you feel empty when you are not doing, when you are not achieving. So it could be during rest periods, vacations, you just feel restless, right? You feel like something is just out of place. You don't feel like everything is fine. You just feel like something is definitely wrong. I'm not settled. You just don't feel settled. You feel anxious because you feel like your identity is tied to your doing. And what then does it mean if I'm not doing something? Because it starts to make you question your worth. Oh, am I useful? Oh, am I needed here? Am I valuable? Right? You've tied yourself so closely to your achievement, so closely to your accomplishment, so closely to what you can actually do. There's a high chance that you struggle with identity confusion. So what can you do about it? Or can you even do anything about it? I like asking that question. Can you really do anything about it? Because it's like, why are we here? Are we just here to talk about problems? Absolutely not. There's always something we can do about it. The first thing I'd like you to know is that you want to be very, very clear on your values. So you want to do value exploration first. To learn about your identity, values exploration is a very, very good intervention to begin. So it helps you understand yourself on a deeper level, right? It helps you understand what matters the most to you. So for someone, a value they have is wealth. For another person, a value they have is connection. For someone else, a value they have is family. For someone, a value they have is experiences and travel. Different values. And none is right, none is wrong. It's just what's right for you, what's good for you. What do I personally value? Because if you are living a life based on decisions people are making from their own value system, so imagine someone whose value system is connection, where inherently your own value system is family, experiences, and those are the things that give you inherent joy. Or you are getting feedback or information from someone whose value system is very, very different. Maybe wealth, maybe freedom focused, right? Risk taking, things like that, right? Or maybe for you, it's integrity. And maybe someone else, they don't value integrity that much. And the advice they are giving you is something that is definitely going to skew that sense of integrity and is going to make you lose trust based on whatever decision it is that you'll be making from their advice. You see how that can mar you much more deeply than you can imagine. Values exploration is not something that is a maybe. It's, I have to get this done. Values exploration is something that in therapy, in coaching, in well-being partnership is done typically, right? Values exploration is an intervention that helps clarify you on the basis that informs your choices thereafter. It can inform where you choose to live. It can inform when you choose to build a family. It can inform how close you choose to live with family members. So an example is someone who values family, right? And this is a client I had recently. So this is someone who, his values when we did this exploration, family was part of it, right? Now, for someone who valued family, he's living in a country very far from his family and is only able to see his family twice in a year. Constantly dissatisfied, constantly unhappy, goes to work, of course makes money, sends money, they are able to meet their needs, he's able to live fine, but he was just always in a state of dissatisfaction. When we did the values exploration, he realized how misaligned he has been living his life. Someone who values family has not seen his parents in a very long time. Okay, he missed the passing of his father. Now he's married, still is not able to see his family members. And when we did the exploration, it then informed what the intervention looked like. He made changes in his life that brought him closer to his family members, and how significantly that improved the quality of his own life, how satisfied he felt thereafter. All because we did values exploration, values clarification. You must know what your values are. Another thing you need to do to let go of this identity confusion is review what your shoulds are. What are the things you believe you should do? I should do this. I should have this. I should have done this. this. I should get that. What are those shoulds that you've put on yourself? And how many of these are authentic to you? Okay? I should get married in this timeline. I should live in this country. I should stay in this job longer. Or I should quit my job even though I don't feel convinced yet. What are the shoulds you are holding on to? Because a lot of times, some of these shoulds, they don't align with our authentic self. They are no longer true to us. They might have been true to the earlier version of ourselves, maybe when we were much younger. But we're still holding on to these shoulds because we never audited them. We never checked to see if they still matter now, if they are still relevant in our lives now, if they are up to date. Audit your shoulds. Then the last thing to definitely help with improving identity confusion is start practicing showing up authentically. In minute steps, no matter how little it is, start practicing it. Express your idea. Even if it's opposing to what is the consensus, express it. Doesn't have to be that you go into a full-blown confrontation or full-blown argument. No, it doesn't need to be that way. But express yourself, right? Even if it's opposing. Learn why you think that way. You might get feedback that what you said was not correct, but now you know. And then you know why you thought that initially. Dare to show up authentically. Dare to express your authenticity. It can be in the way you speak, the way you choose to dress, because, of course, the way you style yourself is a form of communication. Whether or not you know this, your posture is a form of communication, whether or not you agree, right? What is authentic to you? Maybe certain things that were authentic to you in the past are no longer authentic and you want to change, but because of the people around you, you feel like they say, oh, what's happening? You're changing, but it's okay if you're changing. We're constantly iterating. Why shouldn't you be? Why shouldn't you welcome it? And why shouldn't the people around you welcome you improving? Show up authentically. Allow yourself to do so. And by that, you're going to dissolve the identity confusion. You start becoming clear about who you are, what your likes are, what your dislikes are, what your wants are, what your needs are, what your values are. The things you've decided to let go of and the things you've decided to carry on. Okay? And that is all we're going to talk about regarding identity confusion. I hope it was clear. And I hope the solutions, you're going to implement them. Write in the comment section, any of the solution that you choose to implement. Values exploration, if you do try to implement that, I'm sure there are resources, publicly. But if you want to work on it with me one-on-one, then absolutely. The link in the description provides all the details to apply to work with me. So that'll be all for the video today. Remember that the Thrive Clan is a space for leaders to be themselves outside of the pressures of perfection. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.